So, welcome everyone to the Lunar Counseling podcast. I am Kiara Brown, owner of Lunar Counseling. I work with individuals that have anxiety and trauma. And today I am joined by the amazing Dorlee. She is also a trauma-informed psychotherapist and EMDR certified. She helps quiet, high-achieving women break free from anxiety, imposter syndrome, and survival patterns that success never cured. She's also a former corporate professional who looked confident on the outside but felt invisible on the inside, and really now guides women to step out of self-doubt and into leadership with calm confidence and self-trust. So welcome, Dorlee. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I had to ask everyone, what brought you to being a therapist?
It's a combination of so many different factors. Um, I think there was a part of me that was always interested in psychology and helping others, but I didn't pursue that track right away when I went to school. It was psychology was my minor in my undergraduate degree, and I went first for an MBA, but I chose in marketing research, so as close as you could get almost to psychology. I did enjoy that work. Um, and I think about after I was in the field for about 10 years, the industry was changing. And yeah, more companies were taking the work in-house instead of hiring marketing research firms to do the work for them. So you had like basically the industry was contracting. And my firm let me go. This is the second firm, actually. The first firm also let me go. I was literally one of the last three people standing and contacting clients and closing up projects with the first one. And then with the second one, I was in the second round of layoffs. And so the combination of what was going on in the market, plus in my own private life, a family member was wrestling with depression and mental health issues of her own. And I really saw the power of therapy and how much it was helping her. And I was thinking, well, what do I want to do kind of like for the rest of my life, if you will? And
Yeah,
um, helping people on a more personal level versus helping companies make more money felt to me at that point in time really my calling, if you will. And it felt like what was going on in the economy and so on, like kind of was pushing me to do what I actually had wanted to do from the get-go.
right. Yeah. So that's really cool. So I'm curious though, like, was there any like external like factors that were pushing you toward to do more like the traditional business things to make more money, or was it just what was leading you to more the marketing side instead of pursuing psychology, like you had like the first gut feeling to do?
Right. I think like many people unconsciously it was perhaps fulfilling or trying to prove myself, if you will, to my parents,
Okay.
and feeling that the MBA would hold more prestige or yeah, would somehow indicate my worthy, like raise my worthiness, if you will. And it's like with many people and my clients, it's only after you do the internal inner work that you realize how much of your life sometimes is driven unconsciously by fulfilling others' expectations of yourself
Yeah.
versus what it is that you want.
So whenever you were in like the that marketing field and you had like you said like in your intro, you felt like you had everything together on the outside, but on the inside, like you felt like you were an imposter. How'd you get over that piece of yourself?
Um, I mean, it's interestingly, it was one of my mentors in who had told me privately that she didn't feel that I was fully stepping into my power in the firm. That I was doing excellent work, but it was, 90% of it was behind the scenes. And I wasn't ready at that moment in time to do something about it, but I did feel intense shame, and it really, um, hurt, but in a way that was like highlighting to me something I needed to work on. It was only through my own journey, um, and actually uncovering repressed trauma that I was able to step into my own power, and to such a degree that I was one of the only and first people within my supervision group when I was going for postgrad psychoanalytic training, who like volunteered, a very brief synopsis of what my trauma was to make sure that it was not going to interfere. But it was meaningful because it meant that I wasn't saying that the trauma defined me,
Yeah.
that it was simply something that had happened to me, and there are lessons and um, learnings and understanding that I can bring to the table that I would not have been able to had I not um, faced the repressed trauma. And by my being open and vulnerable with my colleagues, it ultimately enabled them to either slowly open up themselves, or to share with me privately. It really depends like where you're at in the healing journey of like
Yeah.
where and what you can say, kind of thing. So,
That's really cool. Do you use anything similar to that with your current clients?
sorry, say that again.
Do you use anything similar to that with your current clients?
With my current clients, I try to, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, probably. It's essentially, it's kind of helping them understand where their fears, uh, of standing in their own power or the need to be invisible and small kind of stem from. It's typically from messages we've received from the people who were most important to us as we were growing up. Not that, they gave those messages to us with any, ill intention, but it's more because of their own beliefs, their own traumas, their own wounds. Plus, there's also the negativity bias and, all the biases against women in general that like we're supposed to make ourselves quiet and small. And when you were younger, I imagine you were told too to like listen and be quiet. And so, then when you're a grown up, it's like, well, that's not really instrumental for yourself. And it's
Yeah.
it's actually going to hold you back in terms of your success and being to carry your own weight at work or in your personal life.
Yeah, that's very true. And it is interesting too. Like so many women are told that we have to be like be small or our places at home or actually it's I've had men in my life say that whenever women are CEOs, the companies don't last more than 5 years. And I
That
was like, I was like, what? Like, no, that's not factual.
Yes, it's so interesting. The male stereotypical type of leadership is very much like a dog eat dog type of world and
Yeah,
system. And it's very kind of like anti-cooperation, anti-collaboration, while the female, more stereotypical type of leadership is actually let's get everyone to be working together. Let's hear all the voices. It's a much more empowering model, and ultimately, I think would lead to more successful firms rather than less successful firms.
yeah, I agree too. Because plus, the women innately are a little bit more in tune with like the emotional impact of decisions, and not just like how much money can we make this quarter, and if we have to make more money, who are we cutting to make boost our bottom line? It's more like
Right.
how can we keep everything whole and cohesive and healthy? And if cuts need to be made, how can we do it with the least amount of negative impact to our employees?
Yes. I believe that if more women were in leadership positions, um, we wouldn't be where we're at today in terms of climate change and, all the like basically like all of our most of our problems are the result of like it being male leadership being the only voices that were heard and push things forward. And so it's a very, I mean, look where we are today. Um, Department of Defense, instead of Department of Defense, Department of War. I mean, does that say it all?
Yeah. I mean,
Right? Which so goes against what the United States was supposed to stand for, just in terms of bringing everyone together and let's raise everyone. And when we raise our neighbors, we're raising ourselves. It's to the benefit of everyone. We're interdependent.
yeah, it's definitely been an interesting change in the last few years with our current political climate. I try to stay away from politics a
Yeah,
little bit
no,
with it.
totally. You're right. Let's just forget that we went there.
Because I'm like,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's just a very hot button issue I don't like touching
Totally
on.
makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Um, but going back to like the females that you work with that are like in the business world and like that are like in those roles, um, how many of them do you feel like because of like the male dominance that has been pervasive in the business industry, feel like they have to like go 20 times over what their male colleagues are doing just to get one iota more
I
attention,
would
essentially?
say 100% of them. It totally feeds into all those problems with in the imposter syndrome and perfectionism. It entails over preparing, uh, so that what their colleague may spend 10 hours on, they're going to spend 20 hours on. And then there's a cost, there's a burnout and exhaustion that happens from that. In
Yeah.
addition to which, like their degree of confidence in themselves, like instead of it increasing with experience, it like almost does the reverse because they're so used to having to play this role where they have to be better than everyone and they're constantly afraid that they're not, and they have to check and check and check.
Yeah. And I think too, like the part of the burnout piece, so they think part of it is like they want to succeed in their business life, but then they also have this other external pressure of being really good, like being a homemaker if they're a partner or a wife or a mother.
Yes.
And I'm trying to balance those two spheres is sometimes so hard because the demands of both are astronomical.
Yes, and it feels like I think over time that instead of the demands decreasing with time, they're just increasing. It's in a sense, it's the more we know, and let's say with respect to childcare, right, or being a wife, well, then the more we demand of ourselves in those areas so that we'll raise the healthiest, smartest kids around, right? Because they're also a reflection on us. And so even if you kind of compare it to like the invention of washing machines, right? When it was first kind of introduced, the idea that it was going to save time was the real selling factor. And so, what has happened in modern times? Yes, we don't wash things by hand typically, but we're washing our clothes a heck of a lot more often. So, the standard of cleanliness has increased with the technology that enabled us to have cleaner clothes faster. And that's kind of what's happening in our lives. It's like this standard creep.
That's a really good comparison. I didn't even think about it like that because you're right. Like you wear something once and it's instantly considered dirty and it gets washed. Whenever before people would wear something numerous times until it was completely dirty and then it got washed. Which I mean, like
Right,
obviously something gets mud or stained or whatever, then obviously wash it right away. But like as
right,
you don't have to wash everything right away. So it's definitely interesting.
right. Yeah.
What are like your the biggest like tips and tricks that you give to your clients to help them balance these demands?
I would say I really focus on understanding their inner critic and trying to show the inner critic compassion. There's a reason why we are so hard on ourselves. We are trying so hard to please everyone around us. We're trying so hard to get everything right. And that almost ties, it ties also with like an evolutionary perspective that we need to feel part of a tribe. We need to feel part of our whoever we're with. And to be included and to be wanted, we don't want to rock the boat. We're like treading this, like on the one hand, we want to advance ideas. On the other hand, we don't want to upset anybody. On the one hand, we want to, lead and share innovative, you know, ideas and stretch beyond the typical boxes. And on the other hand, well, but we're going to be seen as bragging, taking too much of the light. Um, and and so it's both juggling the literally our dilemma with like who are we supposed to be in order to succeed the most, and when it comes to, let's say, negotiations, it really plays into it. The women can't ask for a raise in the same way a guy will ask for the raise. Research has shown that she will be perceived all kinds of negative adjectives, and in turn, it impacts her ability to get a higher salary. So I really focus, I think, on the self-compassion piece the most,
Okay.
by being kind to ourselves, by understanding the need for why we have that inner critic that's pushing us so hard. It really feels that it's the only way that it can make us both acceptable and successful. And it doesn't realize that actually, by pushing us so hard, this is what leads to essentially burnout and exhaustion, missed opportunities because you can't take on any more than what you're doing, strained relationships because you feel like you have to focus so much on work. You're probably working in your private time, more than what you would like in terms of finishing up, tying ends for work. And you have that nervous system stress because you're constantly on alert and thinking that you've done something wrong or will do something wrong. And then there's the issue of your self-worth. You don't want to have your self-worth tied to your performance. You want to know that you're worthy just because you are you. Not It's not tied to like what you're doing or what achievements you have under your belt. You, just as you, are worthy.
Yeah, those are really good points too. Like just like yeah, definitely like the self-worth being tied to an external factor always leads to this constantly grabbing and feeling like we're falling short of a mark that's so arbitrary and doesn't really mean that we're good or bad. It just means like, okay, you did, if you have this project, yeah, we finished the project. Okay, cool. Now you have this 10 other projects you have to complete because you finished one. And it's constant, it's like a never ending battle. But feeling secure in
Right.
yourself internally is so much more fulfilling than having like an external thing.
Absolutely. And in addition to the self-compassion, kind of redefining how you see success, um, and maybe working on also like good enough, accepting good enough drafts. Doesn't have to be 110%. Experiment with trying 90% good. Chances are that is going to be 100%. Um, those little shifts, it gives us more freedom to be who we are and experiment more because we don't have to worry that we have to be exactly one way or another.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, I started my own business with my private practice. Like, I've had some lofty, kind of unrealistic goals and like arbitrary timelines for meeting these goals. And so when I through like self work, like working on myself and really like reevaluating, okay, why do I need to have these set at this certain time? Does it have to be this time? Or can it just be like let things grow as they need to and then get
Mhm.
there in a more healthy, sustainable way? And it's kind of like that same thing too with like any businesses that you're in. Like, obviously, do the work that you have to do in your job, but also at the end of the day, your job is your job. It's not your whole life.
Right, right,
And like keeping
right.
that clear separation.
That's part of the necessary self-care I think we need to do.
Hmm.
is literally kind of consider um, like the different spheres of our life. Not just that like work suddenly just becomes everything, but rather, we have social needs and we have spiritual needs and and we need room for all of them.
Yeah.
And you can't if you are like dedicating 90% of your time to work, then how is your family life going to be impacted by you only having 10% for that, plus your spiritual, plus self-care,
Yeah.
plus your own social needs? Like there isn't much left.
Yeah. We only have so much energy at any given time. And I think for me, the basic thing too that I've learned is like a lot about human design, and everyone's design is so different. And a lot of times,
Mhm.
like the culture that we're in is geared towards like the generator type, where they literally are the generators. Like they generate all the energy for the world. They're the go getters. They go and go and go. But there's like also other types like reflectives and projectors that they don't have their own energy centers. They don't generate their own energy. They have to like be in the energy of other people. And projectors, like I'm a projector myself, so I don't have a lot of like this abundance of energy to go like and work 12 hours straight and like really focus. You get me for maybe 5 hours, and that's pushing it. Anything more than 5 hours, it's like
Mhm.
okay, I need a break.
Mhm.
And reflectors
Also,
are
I
even.
think,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say that also our particular type of work of working with people, being there for them as they wrestle with the difficult moments and difficult experiences is a special type of work. I think it eats up emotional energy in a way that is very different from someone who's working 9 to 5 and is just looking at, streams of paper, or data or what have you. And so because of that, I think it's even more important for us um, to fit in time to do what we need to do to nourish ourselves so that
Yeah.
we can continue being there both for our clients and our families. Not that like there's nothing left when we're done with the day.
Yeah, it's very true too. Like even if people have like are like in a data intensive work environment, like that mental drain that they're under, like looking at the data, then going and doing
Mhm.
something like more like mentally taxing isn't going to help bring that back that energy. Like there's something more like
Right.
physical or spiritual,
Or
like
creative.
or creative
Yes.
would be like so much more restorative than saying going and reading a book again or something like that. I'm always
Or
for
sitting
reading.
in front of the TV. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
The TV
yeah.
is the easiest thing, but it actually is the least nourishing.
It is. There's a lot of good shows out there. Like I was watching
There
uh
are.
I felt like watching Master Chef before while I was doing some work earlier today. But it's like it just becomes background noise. It's not really like anything nourishing.
Well, although you could argue, maybe he's encouraging you to be more experimental in the kitchen, which maybe that could be more nourishing.
I love to watch cooking shows, but I
Uh-huh.
hate cooking. I despise
Oh, okay.
I
That's
despise
really
I
interesting. You
despise
love
cooking.
watching cooking shows, but you despise cooking. What
Yes.
is it about the cooking show that you enjoy?
I just love seeing all the different recipes that they put together, like the creativity with them. That is the part that I
Hmm.
really enjoy, especially the baking ones. I love the baking championships, like each holiday one. I love it. Like the Halloween one
Uh-huh.
started this week, so I'm like, yay, because that one's the best.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I think I like the creativity part of it and like seeing how they
Hmm.
execute them. That's the part that I enjoy. But for me,
Hmm.
cooking in itself is just not enjoyable because then I just see all the mess and then I want to clean up all the
And
mess.
and and I wonder if when you watch it on TV, because they've prepared all the pieces in advance, it looks so easy and simple. Plus, they don't have to worry about cleaning it, right? It's almost like an ideal way of cooking. If
I see
somebody
the
else
mess.
did the prep work for us and also
I'm
did the cleanup.
I see the mess that the bakers and the competitors make because some of them can be like really messy, but I'm not the one
Uh-huh.
cleaning up their mess. So that part is nice.
Mm, I see.
But yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Plus, then like if I am hungry, I can like watch them make the food like, oh, this is like a cool food. And then you can have a husband who loves to cook and like, here you go, you can try
Ah.
to make this thing.
Gives you ideas of what to ask for him to prepare.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or things I definitely would never try. Like a lot of the
Hmm.
seafood things I would never try.
Hmm.
But no, that's really cool. So with like your psychoanalytic training, how does that inform your view of your clients?
Um, I actually went for postgrad psychoanalytic training as my way. I had to go through a little bit of a detour, if you will, after I graduated with my master's in social work, because that's when my repressed trauma came out. My mom was also actually dying, and so I took a detour. I consulted for the Center for Financial Social Work. I consulted for the University of Buffalo School of Social Work. It was only once I finished processing my trauma that I felt that I could now work with clients, and I wanted to do that again. And I felt that the going for postgrad psychoanalytic training would not only personally help me become a better therapist, but will also give me like so many supports. Um, that there's no way that like my experience would be have a negative impact, but rather how to connect even deeper with clients as a result of what I've been through. Like I really know what shame feels like, and I've gone through the process of working through that, and it's not my shame to carry. Um, and it's so I feel that ultimately, I mean, post-grad psychoanalytic training, it includes your own like therapy, deep therapy, like, even doesn't matter what you've done before. Um, it includes the classes, of course. It includes group supervision as well as individual supervision. And so you get such a nice wraparound, and you understand better how you work, how others work, and where the wounds come from, and how best to help people.
That's so cool. Like I knew psychoanalysis was like really like in depth. I think it's like you get like a touch of it in grad school, like generally for your master's, but to go like really deep into any of the other therapies, you obviously have to do like more extensive training. I knew like theirs was like
Right.
really extensive. That's like super cool. I didn't realize like they also had you do therapy with them on top of learning
Yes,
how to do
yes.
the therapy too.
Yes. You really, to help others, the more you know yourself and your own wounds and heal from them, the more you can be of help to others, both seeing and healing from their wounds.
I fully agree with. Like I've been doing like a lot of my own inner work, and I feel like as therapists ourselves, like we have to do it like ongoing. Like I don't
Hmm.
think there's never a point in time when a therapist should never have their own therapist, just because of all of the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But
Yes,
it's
I see
definitely,
that as, yes, a necessary self-care.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely because I mean we're dealing with our own inner wounds because we're human, but then like we are essentially like the soul healers almost. I'm like being like very vague with this, but like of other people, and I have them all heal their own mental wounds. It's a
Mhm.
lot.
It is a lot. I actually, because of that, another piece for my self-care is I'm still seeing on a weekly basis one of my supervisors from my postgrad psychoanalytic training program. Even though it's been years since I've, needed to be supervised for my LCSW. But I like it. I just feel like it's helping me again be better at what I'm doing. It's talking through with someone about someone really experienced with about cases that are difficult. Um, and but yeah, it just gives you another viewpoint. helps us do what we're doing.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that you said like that supervision piece and like you're always like essentially bettering yourself like all the time. Just super cool.
Yes,
And like you're doing it obviously to serve you, but also to help serve your clients better. Just
yes.
amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Um, so I know I kind of said it a little bit, but what's like your ideal demographic of client?
Um, Women in primarily in the finance, tech, and healthcare industries. I guess age-wise, people tend to come to me, I don't know, anywhere from the age of 25-ish through the age of I don't know, mid 50s or mid 60s. I have a wide age range. So some people are like right at the beginning of their careers, and others are in the middle, or they're wanting to do a shift later on.
How do you manage like the shifting piece? 'Cause, like I feel like it's a whole different beast than like the beginning of it, but like shifting out of it, I feel like would be a whole different
It's
thing.
yes and no. There are a lot of
Okay.
similarities because um, the people who typically want to shift, well, I mean, everybody has their own reason, but the ones that come to me are it's more like they want to get in touch with um, essentially what sparks their joy and what they want to do next in their chapter. And so it's again kind of clearing out like other people's expectations, wishes for them, of them, to kind of touch base with, what they really want to do and how they want to show up in the world.
Okay. I guess I think why it would be like kind of similar too, because like they can if they've been in the industry for so long, they've been having such focus of everyone else's expectations, what everyone else wanted them to do. And I was like, well, okay, now I'm old enough that I should be able to say, like, no, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And you can't stop me because I am now an older person and I have my own freedoms. Which even whenever like you're in
Right.
your 20s, you're still your own person, you're still an adult, you still have your own freedoms, but it's still a little bit, I guess, harder too, which I think is I've been finding that too with a lot of my 20-year-old clients. I mean, I know I'm like a young 30-year-old, but it's like just even like that difference between like 25 to 30 is like
Hmm.
we grow so much as people in that 5 year span. And then like even going from
So
like 30
true.
to like your 50s, 60s, I can only imagine the growth from then 'cause I'm not there yet, but I can only imagine how much you grow in those 20
Absolutely.
years.
And the women in their 50s or early 60s, they've really put their both work and their families like front and first. And now they're reaching the point where like, oh, their adult kids can now take care of themselves, and they don't have to kind of split so much of their energy and focus, between work and family. Now they can do more. And oftentimes they then say, well, you know what, maybe I want to do something different now, something that feels a little more fulfilling than what I've done. Maybe what they did before was fulfilling at the time, but now they have different needs, different
Yeah.
aspirations.
Yeah, I think too, maybe at that point, because like retirement's coming up closer, so they have like more time freedom to be like, okay, what do I want to spend the rest of my life doing? What actually is like my joy, kind of like what you said. And they already have
Mm.
like the retirement plan set up. They already have like the savings. Hopefully, they have those things set up so that they can actually go and go and
Yes.
enjoy like their final like years of actually having the energy to do things. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Yeah, awesome. Any other tidbits that you'd want to like leave people with?
Um, any other tidbits? I think the important thing is to um, see progress, um, redefining success being progress as opposed to perfection. I think that's a really critical piece. And to um, try to talk to yourself like you would a friend you care about. It may sound obvious, but many of us talk to ourselves like we would never talk to a dear friend, thinking that that's going to push us, that's going to make us more successful. And maybe it can and it has in the short term, but it's not sustainable. It's very depleting over the long term, and that's what leads to burnout. But if you are kind to yourself and, let's say you're going through a tough time at work, like literally naming that and or at home and then saying, that kind of like the idea of common humanity. Kristen Neff's self-compassion work here is very helpful. Recognizing that like you're not the only one who's suffering, that it's unfortunately like we all suffer at different points in time so that you feel less alone. And then the third piece is like, well, what would you say to a dear friend who was telling you now what they're going through? That's what you believe to say to yourself. Um, and using those three pieces, um, sustains you and enables you to get through, helps you get through whatever it is you're doing. That plus trying to find and build people in your life, friendships that are deep, with whom you can be honest and support each other. That's a big part of resiliency.
Those are awesome tips. I love those. So how is the
Thank
what's
you.
the best place for people to reach you or find you?
Thank you. To go to my website, it's first name and my last name.com, Dorlee Michaeli. And yes, I'm also offering three 40-minute curiosity calls for any of your listeners who would like to explore their concerns and decide whether, therapy may be a helpful step for them. They can learn more and sign up at my website, dorleemichaeli.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dorothy. I appreciate your time today. You had a lot of awesome tidbits that I hope everyone was able to take in, and definitely like the resiliency piece. I hope everyone finds ways to be more resilient and more self-compassionate towards themselves. To be huge. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a delight.